All right, great. Let's get started. Just want to welcome you all again to Learning Lab number 3, Getting Started with Guru. Today's episode is called Being in the Know. So we're going to cover how to roll out Guru to your team and really putting knowledge at the center of your team's workflows. So get excited. So in all of these learning labs, we've had what we call learning objectives. So these are things that you can take away with you after you finish up this learning lab. So today's learning objectives are to add knowledge to your existing workflows and understand where knowledge is going to be most helpful for your team. Secondly, we're going to talk about how you can coach your team with Guru using some of Guru's features. And finally, how to monitor your team's adoption of Guru and see the importance of knowledge in your team's daily activities. Just an overview of our guidelines before we get started. Firstly, just want to introduce myself again. I'm Meg, a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Guru, and I'll be leading us today. This learning lab is going to be interactive. It's not your run-of-the-mill webinar. So this learning lab is going to include some questions, polls, demos, and some time for you to get into Guru and try things. So what I want you to do before we jump in is to open up your Guru instance. If you don't already have a trial set up, you can follow this bit.ly/tryguru and get your trial instance started so you can work alongside me. And then also, if you like to take notes, you're totally welcome to do so, but just know that if we're moving too quickly, it's no worries. We're going to be sending you this recording after, so don't get too worried. And then just an overview for sort of the workflow of these learning labs in general. What you can expect is these different sections. So I'll be covering a high-level concept about knowledge and knowledge bases. Then I'm going to talk about how this concept is manifested in Guru. Then we're going to talk about what this looks like for one of our customers and give an example. And then you'll have some time to try out what we're talking about for yourself. So we'll jump right in. First thing we're going to do is I'd like to ask you guys a question. So last week we covered good knowledge and we ended with downloading the Guru extension. If you didn't have the chance to download the extension, don't worry, you're going to get a chance to do that in a few minutes. But for those who did, were you able to create any cards in the collection extension? And what kind of cards were those? So what types of knowledge did you add to your knowledge base through the extension last week? So take a chance to just put that in the chat and we'll read them out loud. I'd love to see what you guys got into. Awesome. So one of you was able to make some process cards for emailing a customer to troubleshoot an order, which is a great use case. Cool. Another person was saying that they need quicker access to a Google Doc, so they made a card with a link and iframe to it, which is awesome. Very advanced. Oh, another really good one was putting a canned response in a Guru card and then was able to copy that response over into a Zendesk ticket super easily. That's awesome. Good for you. That's exactly what we're going for. Well, great. Those are some good examples. And so if you remember from last week, I showed you guys this slide, which is what we're calling the Guru cheat code. So if you want to add knowledge in bulk from existing sources or just in general, this is a great place to get started. So we have a bit.ly here to our migration information as well as syncs. So this is a really helpful way for you to bring in knowledge in bulk that keeps all of your good knowledge together. And then as for syncs, this is like unifying all of your knowledge from the different tools that you may use. So let's say you have a Zendesk Help Center or some information in customer. This allows you to unify all that knowledge into Guru and really create a good search experience for your end users. And before we get into the nitty gritty, just wanted to give you guys a reminder of what Guru is all about, that the knowledge you need to do your job should find you where and when you need it. So that's kind of our guiding North Star through the rest of this webinar here. So we want to go over what it means to be in the know. So having your knowledge together is important, but having it follow the good guidelines that we covered last week is really important as well. All of that we covered doesn't matter to your team if they don't use the knowledge that they need. So being in the know is being able to accomplish the tasks that you need to do your job, and being able to know what to say to customers or prospects, educating people correctly on your product, and sending that right knowledge externally with confidence. So giving your answers the agency and the confidence to do their job really well. And so if they have that confidence, they'll be really able to focus on creating great customer experiences and not worried about the validity of the information they're sending. So we're going to jump into story time. You might remember Brianna from the last 2 weeks, one of our Guru advocates. And we're continuing this story today to talk about kind of how she used Guru to kind of up-level her team. She's an enablement manager who covers support and success teams. And basically what drew them to Guru was that they were spending about 40% of their time fielding product questions in Slack to the rest of their org. So their agents weren't able to focus on the meat of their daily tasks. So getting that out of the way kind of allowed them to focus on the KPIs that they were being measured on, like response times and CSAT. So we're going to dive into our first learning objective today, which is adding knowledge to your workflows. So you might have a lot of pre-existing workflows, and so we're going to show you how to help your team accomplish their daily activities better and save time doing so right within where they're working. So where your team is working can really vary on a day-to-day basis and what their function is. It could be spending time in certain apps or tools that are specific to their team, like Zendesk or Salesforce Service Cloud. But you know that it's necessary for them to carry out their daily tasks. They could be working in email internally with other team members, or in an internal chat like Slack, or potentially live chat like Intercom. So there are all these different places where they're interfacing daily, and they're going to need information in all of those places. What you're looking at here is this little animation of the Guru extension as an overlay to 3 different workflows. So you'll see it on top of Zendesk here, Gmail, and then Salesforce in the next part of the animation. So this is just an illustration of how Guru works across all of these different tools. So like I said, the knowledge your team needs in each of these workflows could be super specific, or they can be kind of general and important to more than one workflow. But your team does need the knowledge to know how to use certain tools or apps that are necessary for them to accomplish their activities. So think about how to reply or file a ticket in Zendesk for customer. They also need to know how to access knowledge to respond to emails or tickets or live chats. So how to actually, the content that they need to answer people's questions internally or externally. And then finally, they may need knowledge on the go. So if you have, support individuals in the field, they might need to be referencing that as they're having those conversations in real time or on the phone. So now that we've covered all those places that they might need their information, we can talk about how Guru kind of blends in there. So Guru provides you with multiple ways to supplement your team's workflows with the knowledge that they need. So primarily, a lot of teams are going to be using our extension, which will be an overlay to any page you're working on. And that's just a super easy way to access things through search and seeking and finding. So 80% of our users find value with that extension every day. Secondly is Slack. We know a lot of your team's valuable conversations are happening in there, but it also might be your best frenemy where people are asking you the same question over and over. With our Slack bot, you have the ability to capture that information and kind of answer those people's questions over. And then finally, like I said, for those folks in the field, we have an iOS app where people can reference Guru knowledge on the go. Cool, we're gonna jump into a little poll here. We've talked about the different workflows that are important to your team. So we're super curious about where your team is spending the majority of their day. So I'm gonna launch this poll now. If you don't see something here that is super important to your team, feel free to just jump in the chat and let us know. We definitely wanna know what's important to you guys. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of email, chat/ticketing tool. Would be super curious to know which chat or ticketing tool you guys are using. And then finally Slack, Microsoft Teams, or some internal chat tool. So very similar to our success and support teams. I work in these tools every day as well, so thanks for sharing. All right, so we're gonna go right back into a story time with Brianna. So if your team works in all those places that I just mentioned, you're a lot like Brianna as well. So when Brianna was rolling out Guru, she was focused on it being a singular location for all of their knowledge, because like I said, all of these conversations just kept popping up in Slack and we're driving her team crazy. So Guru is really a great place for Brianna to go to know that she was inputting all this information into a central location, but that could be accessed throughout each of her team's different workflow. So with the extension and the Slack app, it was a really good combination for her to answer those questions in Slack through Guru cards, but also giving people the agency to look and find information in their other workflows outside of Slack. Great, so we're gonna get into some go time here. We would love to add Guru into some of your workflows today. So if you were here with the last session, you probably have a chance to download the extension. That's great, and we'll show you how to add the Guru app to Slack. If you weren't in the session last week, definitely recommend you download the extension as a great first step to Guru. So we're gonna give you guys some time to do this, but first I'm gonna demo how to add the Guru app to Slack. So jump into my Guru instance here. I'm logged in and on my dashboard here, and I want to click on my avatar to go into my team settings page. This is where all of my integrations and kind of admin duties take place. If you see on the left here, we have this integrations tab at the bottom. Click on chat tools, and then here you will see the place where you can set up your Slack integration. So I'm gonna click settings and connect a new Slack team. So feel free to do that if you already have the extension. And if you extension, you can follow this link right here to download that. And if you want more information about downloading the Slack bot, some more information here as well. So we'll give you guys a few minutes to carry out these actions. If you have any issues, just jump in the chat. Awesome. Just saw that Adrian set up the Slack integration. Awesome job. If anyone else has any questions, give us a shout in the chat. Awesome. Okay, we're going to dive right into learning objective number 2, which is coaching your team with knowledge. So we've talked about how knowledge is super important to have it in your team's workflow, but how can you enhance your team's day-to-day function through coaching them with knowledge that's relevant to them? So we've talked about knowledge as the information your team needs to accomplish their daily tasks. So it's everything you need to make sure that they're productive throughout their day. But when it's right in your workflow, you have an exciting opportunity to coach your team with the right knowledge at the right time. So we're going to show you how to do that today. Once we get that set up, you won't have to worry about your end users searching for the right information, losing track of where they are, and they can be coached by experts or you, the leadership on your team, in a passive and effective way. So you can give them some examples of how other teams use this are giving them how-tos on how to use some tools in your tech stack, steps in a process, as well as some other information that they might need to talk to a customer. So Guru brings you this ability to contextually coach your team with knowledge when they need it most. Of course, with the Guru extension, your team can always be searching for information when it comes to mind. But with 2 other features we're going to cover today, you have the ability to bring knowledge to your team at a moment that's relevant to them. So first feature here is called knowledge triggers, and that's giving you the ability to push knowledge to your team based off of certain conditions. So based off of certain words that may appear on a certain page like Zendesk or Intercom, you can push a particular card. So maybe a process for how to prioritize a ticket for support reps, or other information on maybe a macro, etc. So this is the way that you can be prescriptive with your team. And then another feature we have is called AI Suggest. So this is Guru bringing your end users the knowledge they need based off of a current elements on the page. So Guru is basically scanning your ticket, chat, or email with a customer or prospect and sending you relevant information. So here Guru is really doing the heavy lifting. So we're going to jump into another poll. We talked how Guru can help you coach your team, and I'll show you how to do state is. So going to launch this poll and just how you guys are currently coaching your team. Feel free to choose as many options as you want, and if you're missing something, let us know in the chat. Cool. So it's looking like most of you are using a lot of training and coaching during onboarding, or sometimes throwing in some ad hoc trainings when your team is asking for. So we're going to show you how you can bring guru training into a kind of passive way for your team and give them that information as they're actually doing the work. So another little tidbit about Brianna. So if you're spending a lot of time like onboarding, or you don't really have like a standard process for coaching your team, you're in a similar boat to Brianna. So she was really focused on getting her team the right resources that she didn't have time to consider like a full training program after the initial onboarding. So with Guru, Brianna was able to provide this like central location for her whole team to reference knowledge, create knowledge for the rest of their org, and also contextually coach her team with the right knowledge to use in their workflow on top of Intercom and other tools. So this saved Brianna a lot of time and energy, and has allowed her to focus on more like strategic projects that she wanted to free up some bandwidth for her and her team. So she's not really spending as much time taking time out of her day for all these other trainings, and is able to serve her team knowledge like, in their workflow in real time. All right, cool. So we're gonna go through another go time. Would love to show you guys AI Suggest. This is a super impactful feature for our support teams. So we're gonna show you how you can, coach your team using this feature. So first thing I'm gonna do is show you guys how you turn it on, and then give you what it's gonna look like when this feature is in use. And then we'll give you some time to turn it on yourself. So I'm going to go back to Guru, and I'm still in my settings page here. So if you want to return to this page, you're going to click on your avatar and go to team settings. On the left-hand side here, you're going to see this little lightning bolt section for AI Suggest. AI Suggest, you can turn it on top of a variety of tools, and especially this lends really well into the support use case, so you might see a lot of the tools that your team is using here. I've toggled it on for Gmail and Intercom because that's what we use here at Guru, but feel free to look at all the options we have here. We also have some customization elements down here that you can take a look at and reference our Help Center with as well. But I'm going to make sure these are toggled on. Nope, want to keep that on. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like in the end user's workflow. So I'm going to refresh my page here. So I got this email from a customer looking to return an order that they placed last week. So I want to reply to them to give them the correct information. So because I've enabled AI Suggest in Gmail, you're going to see this cool little Guru button down here in the reply. If I click that, this number 1 is indicating like that I have a suggestion ready. So if I click on that, it's going to open up the suggestions in my extension. And now here you see that I have a suggestion over Gmail to do with a return policy. So Guru is scanning this email in order to surface this knowledge. So I can open this up. Yep, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Copy this information into my customer email and say, yep, this was super helpful. So that's how AI Suggest looks in your end user workflow. We're going to give you guys a chance to turn it on here. So here are the instructions that you can follow to follow up. Let us know if you have any questions at all. Whoops, sorry guys. This is the slide with the instructions. We'd love to know where you guys are enabling AI Suggest over and what tools you're using. So if you feel inclined to share, just jump in the chat. We'd love to know. We'll give you a few more minutes just to wrap this up. Alrighty. Let's move on to our learning objective number 3, which will be monitoring your team's adoption with Guru. So we're going to talk about how you can see the benefit from your team for unified and verified in your workflow knowledge base and see how they're using it. So first, we're going to go over the benefits of knowledge adoption. We know that change can be hard for your team, and if you're the one trying to make that change, you want to be ready to help convince your team to adopt this new knowledge base. It's important to think about the benefits from each perspective so that you can show them how it's going to help them and help make their lives easier. So for subject matter experts, you can really hit home that they can spend more time focusing their time on, they can spend more time focusing on the strategic projects that they have queued up without losing time in their day from answering like a bunch of shoulder taps in Slack or email or in person. And they're really going to see that instant value from keeping their knowledge up to date and in an accessible place so they can cut down on those conversations. For end users, the more that your reps, agents, and team can adopt knowledge, the more likely they'll see it'll increase the speed and efficiency that they have in their daily tasks. So the confidence that Guru and the knowledge provides can allow them to have more meaningful and higher quality customer conversations. And then overall, as your team is adopting knowledge into their workflows, it's going to provide your customers and prospects with a better, more seamless experience. And also it might create a lot more seamless and, smoother internal processes and conversations. So how is this going to pay off later? By adopting knowledge in your daily workflow, you have added benefits later on. So first is attributing knowledge to success. So as you see deals won or a decrease in the time to response for your agents or happier customers and higher CSAT scores, you know that a lot of that is coming from the confidence that is being instilled by Guru. As well as transparency across teams. As your company is scaling fast, your knowledge base is growing and you might not have visibility into what other teams are working on or what knowledge is important for their day-to-day. So Guru is a great place to have an avenue and a window into what other teams are working on. And then finally, filling the gaps. So keeping in mind that you don't know what you don't know. The more knowledge you keep top of mind in your daily workflows, the better you and the rest of your team will be at filling in those information gaps and, kind of patching up those holes for everyone on your team to stay informed. All right, one more Ask the Audience. So how do you determine if a tool is well adopted by your team? So we know that adopting knowledge and a knowledge-based system like Guru is sometimes a big change for your team. So we want to hear from you in the chat. How do you determine if a tool is being well adopted, and are there certain metrics or milestones that you're keeping in mind? So jump in the chat here. Let us know what you're looking for as you roll out a tool. So a lot of you are saying that you're relying on in-app analytics for the tools that you're using. That's great. We provide a window into those metrics as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Another one of you said that you are relying on word of mouth. So if you feel like people are talking about the tool in meetings or whatever, you know that people are using it. So you want to make sure that you're talking about the tool and feeling success with it. Great. Well, thanks for your participation. We're going to move into another story about Brianna. So when Brianna was rolling out Guru, it was important for her to think about what good adoption would look like. She had, run the rollout of some other tools on her team, so she wanted to make sure that this one also went smoothly. So it's important to attribute the use of knowledge to how your team is performing. So using Guru's analytics feature, Brianna was able to easily track the adoption of Guru in her team's workflow, as well as see how her team was doing in keeping their knowledge verified and up to date. So here you can see the trust score over time, along with adoption here. And then as well, Brianna was able to get insight into what kind of knowledge and the usage by user here. So knowing, which team members you have that are most engaged and what they're looking for. So Brianna really found out that each of her users, like she was looking into how each of her users was using knowledge day to day and seeing what they were looking for in Guru, seeing what gaps they had in their knowledge base, all through analytics. So this really helped her rally her team to add more knowledge into Guru, fill the gaps, and find out who her power users were. So in our go time now, we're going to have you invite some of your teammates to Guru. You can't have analytics without a team. So let's take some time to invite those people who you know are going to get value out of Guru and see the hard work that you put into setting it up. So I am going to show you what that looks like here. We're going to go back into our Guru instance. Like I said, we're going to go back to this team settings page. And here is how you can add members. So you'll see this button here, add members. Feel free to paste in a set of emails for your team. Just going to separate them with commas. You can add them to a group and then send an email here. So super easy to invite new members in bulk. If you have a little project team that you're working with, feel free to get started with that. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes. Follow these instructions. And while you're doing that, we want to give you a chance to think about your team goals for adoption. So is there a certain % of adoption you'd like to see by a given week as you're rolling out? That's something that you maybe want to keep top of mind throughout your rollout process. So even once you're kind of fully implemented, thinking about what your goals are for maybe a 30, 60, 90, or on a quarterly or monthly basis. Secondly, try thinking about who your network of champions is. So who are those like influencers and people you can get involved ahead of time to really help you push this across your team and through your org. And then lastly, thinking about if there are any compelling events that you'd like to tie your adoption to. Let's say you're launching a new product or you're getting ready for the holiday season. Those are some really important things that you want to gear up for, and those might help spark adoption for your team. So thinking through all of those things is really going to help you be intentional about getting adoption with Guru and growing the influence here. So get started, invite some of those influencers and teammates, and we'll give you a few more seconds to do that. Alrighty, hopefully you guys sent some invites to some VIPs. So we're going to move on to for the future. So now that you got those people invited, think about your plan for monitoring adoption. Like I just said, think about those important events or things you want to have your guru rolled out in time for. And if you want to check out your analytics, you can follow this link right, or this web address right here. And that's a good place to get started. Just explore some analytics and look to the future. Well, awesome. We've come to the end of our third learning lab here. Hopefully you guys were all able to achieve these learning objectives where you were able to add guru and knowledge into your existing workflows such as Slack and AI Suggest, coaching your team with guru. So really sending your reps that extra mile with the information they need in their workflow. And then finally monitoring your team's adoption. So check out that web address and explore the analytics page. Some final resources for you before we part. You can always check out any of our information at the Guru Help Center, help.getguru.com. And we'd also love to chat with you. So feel free to write into our support@getguru.com email address, or click the chat with us button in your workflow on the Guru web app or in the extension. And then finally, if you're looking for a more consultative approach, you have some ideas you want to run by us, you can always reach out through our Calendly link, calendly.com/guru consultation. We'd be happy to set up a time to talk through your use case and give you some tips. Awesome. We would love to get your feedback. If you guys have any thoughts or comments or stuff you would have liked to cover here, go to this bit.ly, get Guru started, and we would love to hear your ideas. Thank you so much for participating in these learning labs. We hope you got a lot out of it. I'll keep the webinar running a little bit longer, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump in, but we really appreciate you taking the time.